Hello, this is Mr. Jarrett, and in this video tutorial, we are going to be 3D modeling this object in SolidWorks. So I use this activity as a refresher or a starting activity because it kind of makes you think again back through all the stuff that you might have learned previously to this, and it makes you kind of use your constraints correctly and all of your dimensions correctly. And if you don't use them, you do get a lot of errors with this little simple one here. So first off, we are going to see that this is an MMGS, so we got to remember that, okay? So I'm going to pull this to the other screen if you can. We're just going to be drawing on the front view, and the origin is right here in the middle of this circle. So I do have a second screen. If you don't, that's fine. You can just minimize this, but you are going to create a new part. And you are going to change your units right away to MMGS. So that is in the bottom right-hand corner. We're going to be sketching on the front plane. I'm going to start out by drawing a circle right around my origin. Now there's a bunch of different ways you can do this. You can see up at the top of this, there is an arc up here. So some people might draw another big circle and then trim it. That's perfectly fine. You can do that if you'd like. I am just going to use the arc tool just so you can see how that works. I personally would actually draw the circle and trim it, but I know some of you don't think like that, so that's okay. So I am going to take the line tool and maybe just kind of come down here a little bit and sketch this bottom out because that's simple. So it was a straight line down, over, kind of went up on a point, something like this. Okay, and then it has an angle line up, and here I need my arc tool. So I'll go up and get the center point arc. Okay, and the center point was right in the middle of that origin. And then it connected to this, and it wrapped around over to here somewhere. Okay. Then I'll get my line tool, and I'll bring that back. All right. Now I am going to try and fix this thing up before I bother with the inside. Okay. So first off, let's add some dimensions. So it says this inside circle is 30. Okay. So I'll get my dimension tool, type in 30. It says this arc on the outside is a radius of 45. All right. And I can tell you right now that this does not have any relation on it. So where that single point comes up, or this line comes up and touches this arc, it needs to be tangent. So I'm going to select that line, hold in shift and select the arc, and I'll select tangent. And I'll do the same thing on the other side. So notice I clicked off first, and now I'll click back on these lines, holding in shift. Make that tangent. Okay. Next, it says that these little pieces down here are 30 tall. Dimension that 30. And it shows a construction line going all the way across. So these little dotted lines, if you remember back, are construction lines. Those help you build this. And what it's saying here is this point is straight across from this point and this point. Okay, so you could draw that construction line in if you'd like, or you can just add the relations themselves. So if you want to add that relation, what you can do in SolidWorks is hit escape to get off the dimension tool, select this dot, hold in shift, select that dot and that dot, and we are going to make them horizontal from one another. So they put them all in the same height. That's the same thing as drawing a construction line across. Okay. These two bottom lines down here, by holding shift and select those are going to be collinear, so straight across from one another. And you'll see on the picture with this little arc, it's 90 degrees. When I drew mine projected that perpendicular, which is 90 degrees. So if you don't have that, I'll just delete this relation just to show you. If you don't have that, this thing can still move around like this. So you can simply fix that just by selecting the two with your dimension tool and typing in 90. Okay. And also shows a construction line from this point straight up to the origin. So you could draw that construction line in, or you could hold in shift and select the two dots, and we're going to make them vertical from one another. So you see how that centralized this, kind of moved it right to the middle. Now, to continue to fix this thing up, it says from the origin down to this spot here, or this spot, however you want to click, because they're all horizontal. If I'm just following the picture though, it shows that spot. It is 240. So that will push it down a lot. Okay. And the last thing we need to do before we put the middle in here is we need to fix up the problem of it going left or right more than it should be. So what it shows you in the picture is a bunch of dimensions for the inside. Okay, it shows a whole bunch of dimensions the inside. So it doesn't necessarily say that this and this are equal to one another, but I can tell you they are. So you could put them equal to one another now, or since this is assignment number 1, which it may not be if I ever change this later on, you might just want to follow the picture and draw the inside and then see what you need to fix after. So that's what I'm going to do, is draw this inside and then see how I can fix that width later on. So as far as measurements, I have all of these three, and I have this one and this one. I do not have these yet because I didn't draw the inside, but that's what I'm going to work on now. So since I did the outside with an arc, I'm actually going to do the inside with 3 circles and trim it just to show you a different thing. So I'll get my circle tool and I'll draw a circle here and draw some small ones. Okay. So both of these circles, these small circles, those are actually going to be equal to one another. This circle up at the top, so I'm going to get my dimension tool, it's a bigger one, that says it has a radius of 40. So right now, you notice I have diameter. Okay, so don't confuse that. So we're not going to dimension that yet. But what we can do is actually take this center point and that origin, so hold in shift and click those 2 dots, and we're going to make them vertical, so straight up and down from one another. So it's right in the middle. And we are going to take these 2 dots and make them horizontal from one another. So they're straight across. Now we can actually use our line tool and make sure you don't click on this dot, this little triangular or diamond shaped piece. You just want to click on the line somewhere. And we are just going to connect these. Okay. Hit escape and we'll do that again. So this might not be the best way of doing this, but as you can see, it is an option of doing it. Okay. So now I can trim, and I like to use the trim to closest option. You can use the power trim. Power trim just allows you to kind of drag your mouse like that. Sometimes it glitches though, so I just like trim to closest because I know it's safe. But you use whatever you like. Now you notice that I have tangent here, I have tangent there, there. I do not have tangent here. So we're going to select one line, select the other line, and make them tangent. I don't have it here, so I'm going to do the same process, select the 2 lines holding in shift, make it tangent, and I do have it there. Okay, so that's good. So now I can actually put in those dimensions. So get your dimension tool and click that top part, and now you notice we have a radius because it's not a complete circle. So that's a radius of 40. These smaller arcs down at the bottom both have a radius of 20. Okay, and this thing's getting close to being good. We can do those 110s. So it says from the origin down to the center here is 110. And then it says from the bottom line up to the center here is also 110. Okay. So the last thing that we really need to do is fix up the width. So you notice a lot of this can still slide, move around. So we need to kind of fix that problem. Why is it doing that? Okay. So in order to fix that problem, it shows you in the picture that there are two 30s. So you're probably looking around, you're saying, hey, I got every dimension on here other than this 30 and that 30. So that is a distance in between there. I'm going to show you, if I tried to dimension this right now, what the problem with this is. Notice we have degrees, not a distance. The reason why it's degrees is because they're not parallel to one another. So in order to get a distance, you need to select both of these holding in shift and make them parallel. Okay, and we'll do that on the other side as well. So parallel. Ooh, I made them equal. So accidentally did that, so I'll delete that and I'll make it parallel. Okay, now I can try to put it into 30. Do 30 over here. Okay. So it looks like I have almost everything except this little triangle piece is screwed up down here. So it actually looks like somehow it flipped-flopped my triangle. So you notice this bottom line is over too far. Okay, so if yours does something strange like this, you have to look at some of your relations. And what you'll notice is maybe your computer will do this. Mine kind of just took that line and connected to the midpoint of this line, which is very strange. I didn't do that. So I'm just going to delete that relation. Now, if you can't figure that out down here, what you could do is simply just delete all of these little lines and redimension them and re-put them in. But now if I just stretch that back over, now you see I've got that gap here again. And simply to solve this problem, like I was talking about earlier, it's assumed that these two bottom lines are equal. So select those two bottom lines and make them equal. That will make this centered. Okay, so there is the sketch. It is fully defined. Notice there's no blue or anything in here. So it says the material thickness is 25. So I'll go to Features, Extrude, make this 25. And you notice here that it says the Z is negative, so that means you need to actually go backwards, not forwards. So we're going to send this backwards. Hit the green check. And now we just need to change the material. So right click on this, and it is plain carbon steel. With the material changed, now we can evaluate it. So go to Evaluate, Mass Properties, and you should get 5,703.09 grams. Notice your center of mass is all the exact same thing as well. You have your negative y and negative z. So if you got that, you are correct. You can save this and move on to the next one. If you didn't, try to backtrack, problem solve, and find out where you went wrong.